Welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruen, and this week we have none other than the Danger Boy Alfredo himself. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe, hold on. I don't go anywhere without my entrance music, so I figured, hey, if I'm going to be on your podcast, let's start it off right, baby, with my entrance music. And I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be ready for this. Joe, how are you, my friend?
Very good. Good to have you here. It's a pleasure.
It's always been a pleasure. Hey, we've known each other for a long time.
A long time. Yeah, it's been probably 20 years, maybe more.
Let's see. I've been doing this for 32 years.
Yeah.
So we're in the 30 mark.
I guess time flies, doesn't it?
But I'll take your 20, so I feel a little younger.
Yeah, exactly, right?
You know what I mean?
So let's rewind back to the very beginning as we take a deep dive into your career. Growing up as a kid, when did you first discover pro wrestling, and who were some of your favorites?
All right, I'm going to be honest with you because that's how I call it. I'm a straight shooter. I'm honest. Some people hate it, but I'm a realistic. I don't fabricate anything. I go right to the truth. I started watching wrestling at a young age, just like you did.
Yeah.
And then I remember New York City. I would sit with my father and watch Saturday morning wrestling. And Joe, back then, we didn't have cable. You had like 3 or 4 channels, and you had to wait the rabbit ears on a black and white little TV set. So I remember I had to put aluminum foil and move it around, and I would watch wrestling with my father. It was a tradition. Every Saturday morning, we would watch wrestling. And then they came out with the cassette player. So I remember my dad having a cassette player and getting me some cassettes, and I would sit there by the TV set recording some of the matches. One of my favorites was Tito Santana and Rene Goulet versus the Samoan. And at the end, the Samoans and Lou Albano are cheap-shotting the other two. Then Ivan Putski comes out for the save. And I remember I recorded that. And at night when I go to bed, I would put some of these matches on. That's how I fell asleep back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's how way back we're going. And whoever would have thought, rewinding forward, that I'd be doing this. I'd be doing this. Yeah. And my dad, if we ever get to the subject, my dad actually got to see me on Raw before he passed away. And if you ask me about that, we'll get into that. So I'll wait to get into that if you ask me.
Absolutely, yeah. So before we get to the wrestling portion of it, obviously you grew up as a fan, like you said, but eventually you'd go on to, get into broadcasting and obviously be with 92 Pro FM and, different radio outlets and DJing. How did that all start for you? And tell us the different, companies and promotions that you worked for.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to tell you exactly like it is. I grew up in the restaurant business in New York City. My dad worked in the restaurant business all his life. The Waldorf Astoria, the Royal Plaza, big New York restaurants that have been seen on Home Alone and other movies. So my mom got diagnosed with cancer. So when we found that out in New York, her specialists were in Boston, Massachusetts. So my mom and dad decided, hey, we got to make a move. So we moved to Providence, Rhode Island, because to live in Boston back in the day, it was very expensive. So my father was like, we'll move to Rhode Island, and then we would have an hour drive to go see the doctors and specialists for my mom, which wasn't bad. So that's how we ended up in Rhode Island on Federal Hill. And it was funny because I'm from a Hispanic background. Anyone that knows the Cuban Missile, I'm Cuban. So there's not an ounce of Italian in me at all. But my father worked at the Capriccio's restaurant in Providence. Then he went to the Blue Grotto, and everyone thought he was Italian. So my father went along with it. Short, little, stocky guy, accent, white. You can't get more Italian than that. So my dad worked in the restaurant industry, and I was here with my sister and my brother and my mother, and I didn't really know anybody because we ended up here. And believe it or not, I moved to Rhode Island, and we actually just celebrated it. We moved to Rhode Island the day before Thanksgiving, 1976. And the cool thing about it was that my mom had a sister living here. So we weren't alone. So that was kind of another reason why we moved to Rhode Island. So with that being said, I think at 12 years old, I started working with my father at Capriccio as a busboy. And then from there, as the years grew older, I've always been in the restaurant business. Then we went to the Blue Grotto. And from a busboy, I was a valet and then a waiter. And sometimes they need me to work the bar, but I'm telling you, I didn't know how to make drinks, so I would pray to God that people would order a wine or a beer, because that's easy. But from that was my whole life, was working with my dad and trying to help my mom. I was outside, and I had a 1987 Chevy Camaro, candy apple red, louvers, tinted windows. It was awesome. So every day when I wasn't working or in the morning between shifts, I'd be outside vacuuming it. And then I just happened to have the radio on in the car, and 92 Pro FM was looking to hire a man on the street, a street guy, an on-air radio personality. So they were saying, oh, bring your on-air check tapes, your glossies, drop them off at the studio, come on down, fill out an application. So after I was done with my car, I came inside, and me and my mom were talking, and I had mentioned it to her. And then she's like, oh, that's something that you should do. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about radio. Being a busboy, waiter, that was in my blood. So my mom kept pushing it. So I actually called the radio station to get some more information, and they said, yeah, bring an 8x10 glossy, a headshot, and an on-air check tape. So I was like, what's an on-air check tape? Oh, that's you, on the radio. I don't have any radio experience. Well, now I found out what it was. On the radio, when you're live and you're talking, it records you. And every time that you turn it on, it records. And when you turn it off, it stops. So you'll have a tape, what you sound like. You could send it to other radio stations if you're looking for a job. So what I did, Joe, believe it or not, I had a Polaroid camera. So I had my dad take a Polaroid picture of me, and I had the little recorder, the audio cassette recorder. So I started talking. So I brought that with me. So I took a ride to Pro FM over there on Wampanoag Trail in East Providence. I went in. I went to the front desk, told the girl that was awesome, Tawan, and I said, hey, I'm here because I'm interested. And she looked at what I had, and then she's like, oh, at least you have an on-air check tape. So I told her the truth. I told, hey, it's me talking. It's 8x10 glossies. I don't have that. It's a Polaroid. So she took it, and she thought it was the coolest thing, and she told me to hold on. So she went, she dropped it off to, I forgot who it was at the time, the station manager. And then she said that they would call me. I had to fill out like a regular paper application, left it with that, and I left thinking nothing was going to happen. I don't know, maybe a week to 10 days later, I get a call from Pro FM telling me they wanted to come down and wanted to interview me. I was scared because I never done anything like this. And behind the scenes, I'm usually quiet. I was by myself, mind my own business, didn't bother anybody. So I took a gamble, and I went because my mom kept pushing me. So I went. I gambled, and I went. Had to wait a little bit. I got interviewed. They said that the guy, I want to say it was Tony Bristol, but I wasn't 100% sure. He was impressed with my on-air check tape, which wasn't professional, and they loved my 8x10, my Polaroid. I didn't have any 8x10s, but they loved what they called back then my Colgate smile, because I was like, which is a little kind of thing that I do. And they loved that. So they interviewed me. Everything went well. And they said, okay, maybe I'll hear from them. I don't know, like a week went by. They invited me to come back. They narrowed it down to 3 people. One person went on Monday, and I heard them on the radio and stuff. I went on Tuesday. So when I went, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So me and the producer, who happened to be Kim Reese at the time, me and her jumped in the Pro FM van, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm actually driving the Pro FM van. We ended up going to an Almax in Warwick at Hoxie Four Corners, which is now Dave's Market, I believe. They were doing a Cracker Jack promotion. Come on down, open a box of Cracker Jacks, and inside one of the boxes there was a diamond ring that they were doing. I think it was during the Christmas holiday.
Okay.
So we ended up doing that, and Mike, that was the host at the time, came to me 4 times live on the air. And it was kind of cool because radio is theater of the mind. You don't really know what's going on. You got to hear. So I remember I had to line up a bunch of people and tell them, hey, when I come to you, act excited, yell, scream. And that's what I did. And it sounded like there was 100 people there when I think there was like 10 or 20 at that time in the morning. So he came to me, hey, where are you? So I tell him the who, what, where, when, and why. And that was pretty much it. And then we did it 4 times. The newspaper was there. So they covered it. So a couple of days after that, my little face with and my USA soccer hat, I think I had on, was on the cover of the Warwick Beacon newspaper, and it said 92 Pro FM's Alfred or Alfredo, whatever it was. I think they added the O in because they thought it sounded cooler. That's where the Alfredo name came. My real name is Alfred, but they added the O. We'll add the O. So that's how that started. So I made the paper. Everybody was like, oh my God, that's cool, that's cool. And then Wednesday, they had another man on the street come out. But you know me, I had to listen. And I was like, okay, they were good, but they weren't funny like me. And they didn't make the newspaper. So then they had me come back. This is what sealed the deal. Anthony Quinn was living over there on Papa Squatch Road or somewhere, I want to say Warren, Barrington area. So they told me, get in the Pro FM van. They wired me. I had it was weird. It was like being a detective in the movies. I had a wire so you could hear me at the station. And it was on a delay, which was kind of cool. Just in case something happens, I get yelled at something. So they gave me the address. So I went, and my thing was I was supposed to get Anthony Quinn on the radio with us. So I went. I get to the address. It's a gated community. And I noticed that it was gated. Next thing I know is the gate's opening and someone left. So I drove the Pro FM truck in. And what was weird was there's the house right there. So I went to the house, and then Mike was recording everything. We were recording everything. We didn't go live. We were recording. And then we were going to play it. So I remember I knocked on the door, and I think it was the maid. It was a cool Spanish lady. She answered it. She asked if she could help me. And I said, yeah, I'm here to see Mr. Quinn. And then she was like, well, he's, tied up right now. Does he know you? And I said, yeah, tell him Alfred's here. Tell him Alfredo's here. And then she was like, oh, okay. So she left. She comes back to the door and she goes, is he expecting you? And I said, yes. Tell him Alfredo's here from 92 Pro FM. I'm here. I'm ready to talk to him. Next thing I know is 2 cops show up. And that ruined the fun. I mean, they came up, asked what I was doing, and they saw the Pro FM truck, and I told them what was going on. So they were kind of cool. They're like, how did you get on to the property? I'm like, well, the gate opened, and I came in. I thought it was opening for me. So I pretty much said, all right, guys, I'm out of here. But they were cool. They were very cool. They were radio listeners, so they kind of knew what was going on. And I left. And then when we heard the playback, you could just hear me talking to the maid lady, and I was trying to convince her that me and Anthony Quinn, we were close, we were friends. And I think I even talked to her in Spanish. And when I got back to the station, everybody was like, oh, my God, we thought you were going to get arrested from what we could hear. I can't believe you got on this property. You knocked on the door. So then that sealed my radio career for me. That's where it all started at 92 Pro FM. And Danger Boy was the title that was given to me. And then we added the Alfredo, added the O because it sounded cool.
And
So that's
continuing
it.
on the wrestling aspect of it, as a fan, when was your first event that you attended as a fan, where you watched the matches?
All right, are we talking indies or we're talking WWF?
WWF.
Because back in the day, it was only WWF. I
Yeah.
remember going to the Providence Civic Center, which you probably did too, with my dad. Me and my dad would go, and I believe it was like a Saturday afternoon taping. And Joe, I still got the little half the ticket stubs that they used to give you. And
Yep.
I believe it was like $10, $8 or $10, no more than that to get in. This is how far back we're going. Me and
Sure.
my dad used to go. We actually used to park at the restaurant, walk down, and then after the show, walk back. And that was like the first, when I saw it live, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And there were TV tapings back in the day. So you saw one after the other, one after the other. So that's the first time I ever got a taste of being at a big, and back then it was the Providence Civic Center. That's what it was called.
Yep. And how did it work out where you actually decided, you know what? I want to get into the business. Let me give it a try myself. How did that come about?
All right, here we go. Are you ready?
I
Because not
am.
too many people are ready for me. I was hosting uh, Pro FM's karaoke night at Rocky Point Park when they had the whole amusement park. So I was there every Thursday night. I believe it was from 6 to 8. So people would come down and sing karaoke on the stage. I would host the event, introduce them, then we go live on the radio, talk to some people, then they do their thing at the radio, and I still be at the event covering. And I used to watch NEWA, the New England Wrestling Alliance, on public access. Whenever I scanned through, whenever I saw him, and I'm like, wow, one of the guys that's singing looks familiar. And it happened to be Chris, aka Wolverine. So that's the first time I got to meet an independent wrestler. So, of course, he was honored. He wouldn't leave my side. Like, the rest is history. You know that. So we
Right.
were talking. Then I invited him and his girlfriend at the time to Marianne to come to a couple of events, Pro FM events. They would come. And then he was like, hey, did you ever think of being involved in wrestling? And I'm like, well, yeah, what would I have to do? Well, I'm going to bring you to one of the practices that they were having. It was in Johnston at a little warehouse. And it was a ring set up, and the guys would go there once or twice a week to practice, work out. And I got to meet the legend, Rocco D'Alessandro, the founder of the New England Wrestling Alliance. And then I met Rock. We got along great. He liked my attitude, my enthusiasm. He's like, hey, you know what? We got a show coming up on Federal Hill, right outside. I want to say Columbus Day, when they had the big celebrations back there. We got a show coming up, and I want you to be a part of it. And I'm like, all right, what do I got to do? Well, you're going to come out with Chris, because Fire and Ice, which you know both of them, Sonny and
Stacy.
Stacy, Fire and Ice, they were going to badmouth and talk to Wolvie, badmouth him, and he was going to have a match with Ice, and Fire would be outside. So I'm going to come out as the security guard, the bodyguard. And I remember I had, which I wear to a couple of shows sometimes, I have my black leather jacket with all the flags on the side, the big flag in the back. I wore that, and I'm like, what can I wear for pants? That's where these came about. The ever popular MC Hammer pants. And I still have them up to this day. Thank God for the waist. Thank God, because they still fit. I just wore them at a show on Saturday. But I got that. Then I had these big Macho Man glasses, and I would come out as a security guard. And that was it. And then Fire at the end would jump in the ring. It'd be a 2-on-1. And then I'd jump in the ring. So it'd be a 2-on-2. And Rocco kind of liked that whole little scenario. And he's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to make you a wrestler. And I was like, what? And he goes, I'm going to make you a wrestler. So I used to go to the training facility once or twice a week and work out with these guys, learn some things here and there. But I was more of back in the day, I was more like a Bob Backlund. If anybody knows Bob Backlund back in the day, maneuvers, holds, leg locks. I was more like your college, what you'd see in college. I wasn't a brawler. I wasn't the guy with the muscles. I did pretty much all my mat stuff, but back then I was able to move around a little quicker. And then he kept us together. At every show, he kept us together. And up to this day, we're still doing shows together. And that's like 30 something years later. But we're still going at it, which is a lot of fun. It is. It's a lot of fun.
And what was it like working for Rocco D'Alessandro behind the scenes, and who would assist him in running the shows?
Listen, you're going to laugh. Rocco was hysterical. You got to picture this. A short little guy with a mafia hat on, always had a cigar in his mouth. And Rock was funny because he had an office on Cranston Street. And I was actually just with Rock a week ago. We had lunch at Hong Kong Buffet in Cranston. Me, him, and Rock Joseph, which is his son. But Rock was cool. I mean, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't know. I mean, Bob the Padre Cleese and Reverend Chain Link would always say stuff that was like the committee. And then Rock Joseph, of course, Rock's son. And then as I got to know Rock, and not Rock got to know my radio background and my radio career, he liked how I presented myself, and I was good at marketing and advertising and just promoting. So it was cool because I got to sit with Rock a lot and go over ideas and stories and what I think would work. And so I kind of took that as a compliment because Rock had to deal with a lot of guys. Everybody wanted to be a wrestler, but Rock took care of us. I mean, it was funny. I mean, we had the U-Haul. We had to load up the ring from his garage into the U-Haul. Then we go to the venue. We set up. And then after the show, we take it back to his house, unload it. And then Uncle Rock, which I used to call him, and he loved it, Uncle Rock would take the ones of us that would actually help, that didn't have egos, that would help set up and break down. He'd take us down to a couple of bars. And I don't drink. But it was cool because he would give us a couple of bucks just to get us through the night. And at the end of the night, when we're all getting ready to leave, everybody would have no money. And then I remember some of the guys saying, "Hey, Alfredo, how much did you spend?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I got whatever he gave me." So, I mean, we had a lot of fun. So the setting up, behind the scenes, we had a lot of fun. But Rocco, I owe a lot to Rocco because if it wasn't for Uncle Rock, pretty much the Danger Boy character in the world of wrestling would not exist. And I know we're going to probably talk about this after, like the WWF and stuff. But if it wasn't for him, you would never see us on the WWF.
Now, Danger Boy, how did that name come about?
That was a radio station thing. Mike Butts gave me that name.
Mike
He's
Butts
like,
in the
we're going to
morning.
think of huh?
Mike Butts in the morning?
Yep, that's the show that I was on. I was on 92 Pro FM, Mike Butts in the morning. So Mike's the one that came up with the two little stunts that I did. He's like, you know what? We're going to call you Danger Boy because you're crazy. And I was like, that works for me. And then he goes, the Alfred, let's add the O. We'll make it sound Italian because we're from Rhode Island. So that's how the name Danger Boy Alfredo came in. And then we took that from radio right into the wrestling world, which was kind of cool.
Now, there were events that would take place in the early 90s, late 80s throughout Rhode Island, usually at the Providence Civic Center.
Yep.
And it would be the Almax Food Festival. I don't know if you remember that.
I'm trying to remember, Joe. You know, I'm up there in age.
There was the Almax Food Festival, and then there was also the Fox 64 Fun Fair. And sometimes that would be at the Providence Civic Center. Sometimes it would be at the West Warwick Civic Center. And these events would often have WWF superstars. So that's where I first met the Macho Man Randy Savage, the Bushwhackers, and sometimes they'd have the Harlem Globetrotters and different stars like that. I was just wondering if you remember
that. You say that because I also hosted the Harlem Globetrotters Pro FM night at the Providence Civic Center. So downstairs in my office, I got a official Harlem Globetrotter basketball that the guys that were there signed for me, which I didn't know I was going to get. So before I showed up there, I stopped at like a KB Toys or a Toys R Us, and I got a basketball. And I'm running around the back trying to get the guys to sign it. And I got a few. But then Curly Neal which was awesome. He kept looking at me going like this, and I go, yeah, I know. We got the same haircut. At the end, Curly came up to me and he says, hey, Danger Boy. I think he actually called me Danger Man. He goes, hey, Danger Man, come here. I got this for you. So I thought that was the coolest thing. I had to go get those plastic cases to put it in because it's a real official Harlem Globetrotters basketball. But
Wow.
these two things that you just mentioned, I never went to them. And I don't remember them, but we used to appear at Rhode Island Special Olympics Celebrity Carnival that was held at the Providence Civic Center. Then they moved over to the Convention Center, and we would go as New England Wrestling Alliance as our characters. And there is where I got to meet a lot of the WWF superstars.
Yes, I remember being at one of those with Brutus Beefcake, Jake Roberts, Lou Albano. Yep.
Three guys that I have worked with.
Yep.
I
And
got stories about Lou Albano. Trust me, Joe, I could talk to you for hours. And anybody that knows me know that Danger Boy, I don't shut up because this is awesome. When the camera is on and we're having a one-on-one, I could talk. But if the camera is not on, I'd be on my couch, half asleep, watching a good cowboy western or a comedy. But Lou Albano was awesome. Lou Albano used to come to my house. And actually, you're going to laugh. What do you call it? Heat Wave Wrestling. That
yes.
was your organization. And
Absolutely.
I remember that we did a match. It was me and Chris versus the heartthrob, Danny Kama. I think Dana used a different name, Norfolk from Virginia. And I'm like, all right. So
Yeah,
it was
Lee Norfolk.
Lee Norfolk and Sonny D versus us two. And I remember I had
Only I'm
Lou.
not a chicken D.
Yes,
Remember that?
that's right. I'm not a chicken, which is hysterical. I still talk to Sonny a lot, and he's one of my good friends. He's awesome. But I remember we went to your show, and Lou Albano came with me. Now, I don't know how that worked, if you had him come or if I had him come. But I remember a good friend of mine, Anthony Farrow, had a limousine company. So I
Yep.
told him that we were going to your show, and that Lou drove to my house. We hung out here for a while.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then after we got done hanging out for a while, when it was time to leave, he literally took us to your show, which was in Seekonk, I believe. And we just had a blast. I mean, it was fun. And Lou came out as a manager, which made us look a lot better because we had a professional WWF manager, the manager of tag team champions with us. So that was kind of cool.
Exactly. And Captain Lou Albano, obviously a Hall of Famer. And like you said, he's managed so many tag teams over the years. You know, what was it like to have Lou in your corner at the American Legion in Seekonk?
Oh, come on. I mean, that's Lou Albano. I mean, I used to watch him on TV with my dad, and now having him come out with us. And the cool thing about us was he used to say that he was the manager of tag team champions, and he was with us two, and he loved it. I pumped him up. He pumped me up. But I got a funny story about Lou Albano. We were at my house before we left to go to your show. And I remember Lou looked up at my cabinet and he saw I had wine. And I don't drink, but back in the day, you know, from the restaurant business and stuff, I had wine. So I remember Lou pretty much drank a whole bottle of wine. He saw my screen. He was going outside and he thought that the screen was open, but it wasn't. So he smashed into my screen right before we headed to your show. So we had to fix my screen up. And I'm like, Lou, you okay? Oh, yeah. So we ended up going to your show. And I remember him saying a couple of times when we talked on the phone, you got anything coming up? You got anything coming up that you could use me? And I'm like, no, but I'll let you know. And he would always say, hey, I'm sorry that I messed up your screen. I'm like, Lou, that's fine. We fixed it. We're cool. But no, Lou was one of the most funnest people that you want to talk to, interview, and have in your corner.
And let's talk about Bob the Padre Cleese. You mentioned him a little while ago. What memories do you have of working with Bob over the years with the NEWA?
All right. So Bob worked with us. He was the commentator. And I think he was also the commissioner at one point. But
Yep.
Bob the Padre Cleese, I mean, he's living in Florida now. Occasionally he'll shoot me a text message or a messenger message. But Bob was cool. I mean, he knew his announcing. He knew his thing. He'd always make everybody look great when he was doing his commentating. He was perfect. If you were a heel, he'd make you sound like a heel. If
Yeah.
you were a baby face, he'd make you sound like a baby face. But I got along great with Bob Cleese. And you probably already know this, but I did my own little thing. I did the Rhode Island Wrestling Alliance, and I also did backstage entertainment television for Cox. Because when you're in the entertainment at the radio station, you get to meet wrestlers, you get to meet performers, singers. So I kind of divided up the two. But I remember Bob Cleese coming over many times because when they were doing the filming at the shows that I put on, the audio was bad. So Bob would come over, and me and him would sit in my bedroom, which is my son's room. It used to be my wrestling office, and we used to have to dub everything. And just sitting there commentating with him, going over everything, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And I remember when we had to dub our matches, I had to disguise my voice. So back then, I was Johnny T in the house, and I would talk, "Hey, Johnny T in the house." And then, I mean, when you dubbed it, it looks kind of cool. You didn't know it was me dubbing my own match. But
Right.
no, Bob the Padre Cleese, definitely a New England Wrestling Alliance legend and Hall of Famer in my book.
And how about Rock Joseph, the son of Rocco D'Alessandro?
Rock did the behind the scenes. Rock was cool. He was our ring announcer. Rock was the ring announcer. He would go in the back, and then him and his father would put the card up on top of on a wall with a piece of tape. And then Rock didn't want to be bothered. If you had anything that had to do with any of the matches, you go see Rock Joe because Rock had enough on his plate. But I just sat with them. I mean, Rock Joe and his father and me have been friends. And Nicole, Rock's daughter, we've been friends for years. Like I said, we just had lunch a week ago. And it's always great to see him.
And out of all the places that you've wrestled for NEWA, RIWA, and other promotions, what is your favorite venue that you've worked out of?
Favorite venues. All right, now there's a lot because we did a lot of the high schools back in the day. We did some of the bars, the high schools, but right now my favorite venue would have to be the Johnston Recreation Center, which I wrestle with the Renegade Wrestling Alliance with the RWA, T Phoenix being our promoter. And are you ready for this? Our Lady of the Rosary Function Hall, right there in Providence, Rhode Island. We do shows there for the RWA as well. And every time we've done shows at both locations, we get a full house, which is kind of cool. We just did a show this past Saturday at the John Rollins Recreation Center. That was a fun one, too. It was a new place for us to go. But again, we get welcomed and we get the fans that come in, yell, scream, and have a good time.
Now, we saw UCW come about around 1998. Why was it that the NEWA and the RIWA kind of went by the wayside and closed its doors at the end there?
Now, believe it or not, we were always together. I was Rhode Island Wrestling Alliance, and Rock was New England Wrestling Alliance. Rock would pretty much handle like some of the bigger schools that he had connections with, and some of the bars that we used to do back in the day, like the $5 Sports Bar over there on Atwood Avenue, and a few other ones in the area. I would mostly concentrate on, believe it or not, the schools that I DJ'd for. When I do their school dances, they wanted to do wrestling as a fundraiser. So Rock would say, "Hey, you handle that because they know you. I'll handle this part and you handle that part." But we were still together. I mean, I used Rock's ring. I mean, we were together, but everyone thought it was two different promotions. And it kind of was. Rock would give everybody the opportunity. Me, I was more picky because I wanted to keep it family shows because you're at a school, elementary school and high school. So you wanted to keep, you know how it is. Some guys want to get crazy, the chairs, but I wanted to keep it family. And at the end, that's exactly what we did. So both promotions, we had fun. We had a good time, but I had certain guys that I would want to use. And then Rock had certain guys that he used. So, I mean, everyone that says RIWA, NEW, we're the same thing. I mean, I wasn't leaving Rock. I love Uncle Rock.
Yeah. What are your memories of Ray Roy, Pierre the Mountie?
Pierre the Mountie. All right. Well, I try to reach out to Pierre the Mountie because Dino Angel, the official wrestling museum, was having an NEWA and an RWA reunion show at Our Lady of the Rosary Church. So I reached out to Ray, and he finally called me, texted me back, and then he called me, and I told him about it, and he said he didn't want to do it because he was too old. And I'm like, Ray, I'm older than you. He just didn't want to take any chances getting hurt. And then this was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I see him here or there on Facebook, but I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, we had that skit with WWF at the Friendly Tap. It was me, Ray Roy, Max the Butcher, Brannigan, and Chris. And we did that stunt. And he was also Santa that Stone Cold ended up stunning in one of the segments.
Yep.
But I mean, I haven't really talked to Ray that much. After that, it was like he wasn't interested in doing a reunion show. And it's like, all right, we're doing it whether you're coming or not.
And how did those skits come about with the World Wrestling Federation?
Well, but I can't make this up, man. Uncle Rock called us once, and I was working with Chris in downtown Providence. And Rock called us, and he said, hey, I just got a phone call from Tony Garea. He said to bring him 4 guys for tonight. And I want you, Chris, Ray Roy, because he was the biggest one out of all of us, and Max the Butcher Brannigan, which is, Max was solid, great to work with. I need you 4 to go to the Providence Civic Center for 12:30. Go in the back, and I'll meet you guys there. Me and Wolverine were working together. So we went and we told our boss. Our boss was a big wrestling fan. So our boss was like, well, what are you guys still doing here? Get out of here. So I went home. I got my little gear bag, and we all met in back of the Civic Center. And, you know, when you're thinking about this, you're like, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. But it did. It ended up happening. I mean, we went in the back. Rock introduced us to Tony Garea. He said, these are 4 of my best guys. Tony had us go to some room. We had to fill out some paperwork, some W-2 forms, the taxes, fill out release forms. And then he said, we're going to be doing the skit later on. If you guys want to go upstairs, there's food upstairs. So here's where it gets cool behind the scenes. You go upstairs and it's all catered. So everyone knows me. Food and me, we get along great. That's like the joke. Thrash is always teasing me about that. Oh, you found the food. You found the food. So we're up there, and you're going to the buffet, and you're looking around, and everybody that was working each other is in a corner up there having dinner or lunch with a referee or one of the behind-the-scenes WWF producers, and they're all going over everything, and we just sat there and ate, and it was cool. I mean, so we went downstairs and we put our stuff into a locker room. I remember Farouk being on the ground, like sleeping on the ground, and people were walking around them, blah, and just doing their thing. And I remember one of the wrestlers looked up at us and he said, oh, who are these guys? And then somebody said, oh, those are the jobbers that are going to get beat up tonight. And they were laughing. They were laughing at us. And then I remember, believe it or not, Eddie Guerrero. I remember Eddie Guerrero walking by, and he was telling them, hey, back off. We all had to get our start somewhere. And I remember I always respected Eddie for that because I thought that was kind of cool. Wow. And then that all happened. And then that's when we went upstairs. And I remember Mick Foley was sitting there eating at a table by himself. And we're all like, where do we go? And he was cool enough to tell us to come over here. So we got to talk to him for a while. He was telling us about his Christmas book that he was writing and great people to meet behind the scenes. And it's stuff that you never thought you'd see behind the scenes.
Right, exactly. Now, NEWA, if you could pick one particular moment that stands out from your entire duration there or RIWA, what was your favorite moment?
Oh, man, Joe, there's so many. I mean, you know, when you did your shows, there's so many moments. I mean, winning the tag team championships in both NEWA and RIWA, that was cool. But I am going to tell you my biggest and most exciting moment in my wrestling career. I mean, it was winning the Renegade Wrestling Alliance Hype Championship last year over State Representative David Morales in the Rumble. It was the Danger Zone Rumble. Coincidence in name, Danger Boy, Danger Zone Rumble. But I went in number one, and I made it to the end. The last two were me and Morales. And after he hit me with a few shots, I got him with the Cuban missile, threw him out of the ring. And you'd be surprised when you're in the middle of the ring and you drop and you're the last one there and everyone's yelling, screaming, Danger Boy. I mean, it was cool. That has to be the highlight of my wrestling career in the independent scenes. And I want to thank T Phoenix for making that all possible and the entire RWA locker room.
Another individual that you've worked with many times over the years. He's been part of the kind of the same roads that you've traveled. Kevin Charisma, who prior to that was Altitude, and before that he was Double A. Antonio Adams, a long stay in the NEWA. Hugo, his real name, obviously. What memories do you have of Hugo?
All right, I remember Hugo, a skinny kid, high flyer. I think he was like when I started, he was one of the high flyers doing flips, and I was like, wow. And like everything else, you don't see somebody for a while. I was DJing a Christmas party because that's what I do. You know, I got a DJ company. I was DJing a Christmas party for the Rhode Island Shriners. And there's Hugo. He comes up to me, him and his wife. We hugged, we shook hands. It's like, oh my God, I haven't seen him in so long. And I didn't know he was a Rhode Island Shriner till I DJed their Christmas party. And then I actually got to see him at the reunion show, the NEWA RWA reunion show, which was pretty nice to see. But it's cool, man, because a lot of us, a lot of us are still around and a few of us have passed away. So it's kind of nice when you see somebody from the old, what they call the Legends generation, which is pretty cool.
Any memories of the late Dave Jackson, Chain Link, the Reverend?
Chain and me, we had the feuds. Me and Wolvie versus Chain and Max Brannigan. We had that feud going for a long time. And we actually won the belts from them. And I think it was Coventry, Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School in Coventry. And Dave was cool to work with, but it's just weird because I DJ'd Danny Boy O'Callahan, which is now his gimmick now, which he just got back into it. He's Curly Stooge. And I DJ'd his wedding. And I remember Dave Jackson showing up and he was in a wheelchair, which was weird to see. So, I mean, and I think he had an oxygen thing going on. And I remember me, Danny Boy, and Miles, which was one of the excommunicados. All the three of us got around him with the wheelchair and we took a picture. And I remember him being so excited that he got to see all of us. And I remember when Dave Jackson, the Reverend, turned babyface at a show that I did at Bishop Hendricken High School. He got attacked by Badula and the heartthrob Danny Kama. And then we took him and he came out with us and he helped us win we won everything that night. The tag titles, the TV titles, the champion, the heavyweight title. It was a title for titles match. But I remember him saying how happy he was to be on our side. And I remember his son jumping into the ring and he had a little Reverend leather jacket on. I remember we picked him up and Sean was a little kid. Now he's bigger than us. But these are memories that you kind of remember and they're pretty cool to have.
Let's talk about the voice of NEWA, Mr. Rex Havoc, of course, one of the most boisterous guys there. He was the heel commentator, recently unmasked here on the podcast for the first time. Talk about your relationship with Rex over the years.
Listen, I met Rex was a lawyer. We all know that. Rex was a lawyer. That's why he wore his mask. So me and Rex had a few feuds. And it was his idea because he was like, everybody in the wrestling independent world, he goes, I talk, meaning him. And then he says, you could hold your own. So we got to do a match. So I'm like, okay, I'm interested. And then Rex somehow got involved with Keeler, Bill Keeler at Hot 106. So it was supposed to be, we promoted this for a while. It was Bill Keeler and Hot 106 with Rex versus Danger Boy Alfredo from 92 Pro FM with Wolverine. So it was kind of cool because everybody, Joe, wanted to get involved. So Rex had Bad Boy Billy Black and Thrash in his corner. He had the security guard at Hot 106 in his corner. He had the janitor in his. They had a lot of people in their corner. So Rex is like, oh, we got to get some people for your corner. So I got Gorgeous Gino Giovanni, and I got Fire, Sonny D from Fire and Ice. And then I needed to get one more because Rex came up with, I just saw Mark Diorio. I just saw him. He just came to our last show Saturday. He looks good. He was the Rhode Island bodybuilding, what do you call it, champion, the barbell thing when you lift the weights. He was the champion. So I'm like, oh, crap. So Rex has a whole stable. But no one knew I was doing this. I talked to Uncle Rock, and he said, let's go for it. Well, my father-in-law back in the day, he had the long, long hair, salt and pepper. He was big. So I had him dress up with farmer jeans and a flannel shirt. His hair was all over the place. So he came to the show, and he had it in a ponytail under a hat. He also had a skunk hat in a bag that he took. So I told him on cue when I introduce him, I want him in the crowd to stand up and just come down to the ring. Well, when they introduced all their people, I introduced Gorgeous Gino and Sonny D. I said, now I have my surprise. You got Mark Diorio, the bench lifting champions. I'll show you who I got. And I made this up. I said, I had to go all the way to the mountains of Maine. So here he is from Bald Mountain, Maine, which doesn't exist. I got the name from this. Bald Mountain, Maine, the Mule Skinner. So my father-in-law, as I'm getting ready to announce him, he loosens up his hair. He puts the skunk hat on. He had the whole mustache and beard going. He gets up and he starts pounding his chest and pounding the ring. Joe, the people that were sitting around him, no one knew what was going on. Everybody jumped. They were scared. Nobody knew what to do. He's coming down the ring, and Rock had the security guys, who we didn't even tell. We forgot. The security guys are all like jumping, trying to grab it. And then Rock, I think it was Rock Joe. He's saying, let him go. Let him go. Leave him. So they left him. All my father-in-law did was go around the ring chasing Thrash, Bad Boy, the janitor, the security. All he did was he didn't do anything. But just the presence of a big guy was funny. And I know Rex tried to pull a fast one over DB. And again, Rex is a good friend of mine. We keep in contact all the time. And I got the scoop when you and him did his podcast before everybody else. So Rex was trying to pull one over on me and try to pin me. But we decided we didn't want to make both stations look bad. So we're going to end up in a brawl. You know, the referee's going to count to 10, a brawl, the match is over. But Rex he was trying to pin me to get the win. So he kept telling me, go down. And I'm like, no. And when he get me in the corner and he's whacking me, he's like, you're going to go down. And I'm like, no. So then the jerk really starts to hit me. Like, I'm really feeling it. So I'm like, oh, he wants to play that game? So I was really hitting him. So at the end, it really ended up being a brawl.
There's a shoot going on in the ring.
It was. It was literally a shoot. And the rumor was saying that they're going to try to pull something just so they could get the win. And no, I wasn't going to go for that. You know, I wasn't going to make me and the station that I was working with look bad. But I mean, me and Rex have been friends for a long time. I mean, Rex is awesome. With or without the mask, you get Rex Harry. And you remember when we had that Christmas get-together with you, Rex showed up at the Hong Kong buffet with the mask. And
with the mask.
Can we help you? You're like, nah, I'm all set.
Yeah.
But that's Rex. You got to love him.
Yeah. Shows up in character. It's great. Now, the HWF, the Heatwave Wrestling Federation, we spoke about that. Lou Albano in your corner, of course, Lee Norfolk and Sonny, I'm not a chicken D. Let's talk about Sonny D a little bit more. What are your memories of working with Sonny over the years?
Don't forget now, it was a brawl. It was me and Chris versus Fire and Ice for many years with Rock. And then Sonny came over to the light side. And then he would team up with us and we would work with him. But Sonny, I mean, up to this day, when we get together, Sonny's still, I consider him a good friend. Sonny's cool. Could never say nothing bad. Sonny's there to help you, whether you need something done at your house, he's an electrician. If you need anything done, you call him, he'll make it work.
Did you
Now,
have a
because I have to add him in, Lee Norfolk, Danny Kammer. Consider him my brother. We met at one of the wrestling shows. We've been tight. We've been friends up to this day. Actually, Joe, I just got off the phone with him. He moved to Florida. So about an hour ago, he called me and I told him I was getting ready to do this with you. And he said, hey, tell him I said hi. So he's doing good in Florida. He's going to be wrestling down there for a wrestling organization. He's got a couple of shows coming up. He wants me to come down, and I'm like, Dana, you know I don't do planes. So if I come down, it's going to have to be Amtrak. But no, I mean, Dana and me have been friends, and how we met, I'll make it quick. Rock wanted to separate us because we needed more matches at a show at the West in West Warwick. So he was going to give me my first singles match. He was putting me against one of the wrestlers, and I could hear the guy telling me, oh, I'm going to get heat from the fans. I'm going to come out, hit you with a chair. Then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, I'll be back. And I went and I said, hey, Rock, he wants to hit me with a chair. He wants to do all this. Rock says, nope, that ain't happening. We'll fix him after, which he did. Rock goes, I got a guy that called me that just moved here from Miami, Florida, who used to wrestle with WWF and WCW as a jobber. He's coming. If he shows up, we'll see how he is. Well, Dana shows up, and Rock says, hey, you the guy that called me up? He goes, come on. So Rock paired us off together. First time I ever met the kid. So Rock goes, you guys are having your match, and we looked up, and he had me circle, so I'm going over. So Dana was like, hey, he introduced himself. What do you want to do? And I'm like, dude, I'm not used to doing a singles match, but I'll do whatever you want. And he told me that he was a jobber for WWF and WCW. Joe, it was my first singles match. The kid made me look like $1,000,000. He did the cheating thing, boom, the signature, Richard Holiday signature move. And I'm working the crowd. I finally got him on a small package, 1, 2, 3. He's working the crowd as a heel. We're in the back. I thanked him up and down because he talked me through that whole match. At the end of the night, we're packing up the ring, getting ready to leave. And Rock's like, all right, we're going to unload the ring, then we're going out. So I said, hey, you coming? And he just moved there from Miami. Well, his mother was living here, so he came back home. And he said he didn't really know anybody. So I said, come on. He ended up going out with us that night, and we've been best friends ever since. If he was here, he'll tell you. I consider him a brother. He considers me a brother. You make friends. It's friendship. You meet people, and hopefully they'll be with you for the rest of your life.
And you spoke about your father, obviously being a part of that particular match. So he got to see you wrestle.
My father got to see me get the crap kicked out of me at the Friendly Tap. And then the funny part about that was my wife called him and told him to watch WWF Raw. And my father's in Miami, Florida, and he watched it. And 20 minutes to 11, there's our famous barroom scene. And it was funny because my father had called my wife after and said, is he alive? And she says, yeah. And he said, to be honest with you, they're at a bar. They're hanging out together. So back then we had the cameras. You had to get the pictures developed. And you got me, Chris, Farouk, and Bradshaw all together hugging. And I got those pictures developed, and I sent it to my father. And I said, hey, this was us after the clip that you saw. And I had to call him after and say, hey, Dad, my father was mad. He said, I can't believe you let those guys beat you up. And I said, well, Dad, it was part of the script. What's gripped? My father was old school, man. He thought it was real. I had to explain to him it was a men's soap opera back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at least my father got to see me do my little dream, I guess, of being on national TV on WWF, and they actually used us 3 times, which was pretty cool. And by the way, we were the smack of the week on Sunday Night Heat. It had Bradshaw throwing me into the jukebox breaking into a million pieces. That was the slam of the week. What was funny was I kept telling Timmy White, I don't want to break your jukebox. Break the jukebox. Tim, I don't want to break the jukebox. So they put a flannel shirt on me so when I hit, I wouldn't get cut, which was kind of cool. And after that, Timmy White got a flat screen TV. He got his whole bar redone. So that was kind of cool to find out. And if you go to the Friendly Tap now, which has new owners, there's a picture of us getting beat up at the bar at the Friendly Tap.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah. They're going to be dedicating where Andre would sit at the bar. They're going to be dedicating that
Over
spot
there?
to Andre. Yeah.
Well, Tim White was his guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those that don't know that, Tim White was the one that traveled with him and made sure he was okay. So that would be cool to see that.
Absolutely. Now, tell us about your DJ company that you've got now, and tell the fans how they could book you for special events and where they can find you online.
Joe, one door opens another. I was at the radio station. I was helping out other DJs because you meet DJs, and I was helping out I was like a sidekick, helping out doing weddings, school dances, and then I was comfortable enough that these companies would have like 3 or 4 guys going to different locations. They go set you up. All you got to do is go talk, play music, and do your thing. And I was doing that for a while. And then after thinking about it, I'm like, why am I promoting other DJ companies, giving out cards when I could do this myself? So after thinking about it, 2 weekends, I went and bought a minivan. I went to DJ World in Seekonk. That doesn't exist anymore. I bought my equipment. I bought speakers. I bought everything I needed. Working at the radio station, I was able to copy. All I had to do was buy CDs and just make copies and copies and copies when I wasn't working when I wasn't on the air or anything behind the scenes.
Sure.
So that's how all that got started. It was funny because the same people that told me back in the day, oh, you're going to do your own thing. Well, you're not going to survive. You're not going to make it. Well, guess what? I'm still here. And those people that used to say you're not going to do it, I haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah.
Joe, my life has been interesting. And I want anyone out there that's listening, you could do anything you want to do. Don't ever tell me that I ain't going to be able to do something. I went from, I'm going to call it a waiter. Instead of saying the bus, I went from a waiter to an on-air radio personality at one of the biggest radio stations, 92 Pro FM. From there, I went to B101 with Dario Bruno and the Morning Funshine crew. From there, I believe it or not, I worked at Walmart doing loss prevention, which was awesome. That opened the door. I became a police officer with the city of Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I umpire baseball games. I referee basketball games. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. And I own my own DJ company. I don't have to worry about somebody over my shoulder telling me to punch in, to punch out. I do what I want. And it's been a dream. Seriously. So everyone that's listening out there, those doubters that always want to put you down and say you're not going to do it. Yeah, okay. I did it.
Let's talk about the late, great Anthony Rufo. He was, of course, Dambula, then became Marvin the Maniac, Mr. Troubleman after that. Any memories of Anthony Rufo?
The only thing I remember, now, Anthony was with the group before I came aboard, but he was one of like Rock's trainers. So I would see him. I don't remember if it was like a Tuesday or a Thursday, but it was a garage warehouse in Johnston. It was where the ring was set up. And then he'd be in there in the ring training people. And he trained me a couple of times on how to do moves and how to land. But again, I was an on-the-mat grappler. But I remember some of his matches, and it's like, oh, my God, he's nuts. But some of the stuff that these guys used to do back in the day, because you get that blood going and you do it to entertain people, but he took a beating
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he gave a beating.
Right. Let's talk about your appearance at the Warwick Musical Theater for the WWF. You were involved, obviously, in the Headbangers tag team match. Larry Bonoff at ringside as well.
You
Let's talk
remember.
about that. I was there.
See, now I'm honored. What was cool was Larry called Pro FM, and he used to advertise. Well, you know that everything was advertised. Warwick Musical Tent, come on down. So Larry wanted to do a spot with the Godwins, with the Headbangers. So he
Yep.
called the station and said, "Hey, Alfredo's the local New England independent wrestler. I want to have him do a show with us." So they asked me if I would do it, and I was like, "You're joking, right?" Absolutely. So WWF called me. We were playing phone tag for a while because back then we didn't have cell phones. So we were playing phone tag. So I finally got a hold of one of the girls. She finally called me, or I called her, and we talked. And she said, "Hey, they're coming to town. I'm going to be doing a spot with the Godwins. I'm going to be the third Godwin." And what was cool was, I'm sorry, one of the headbangers. Look, I'm so pumped up right now. She said, "You're going to be one of the headbangers. Would you mind if we shave your head and put makeup on you?" And I said, "Honey, you don't know me. My head's ready to go. I'm ready, shaved, ready to go." So then she says, Thrasher is going to have some extra outfits. So I ended up wearing his tights, his skirt, his Misfits t-shirt. They painted my face. And if you looked at all three of us in a picture together, we looked like we were all related. We were all bald. We had the same makeup. And it was pretty cool. I came out with them, and then I kept threatening, it was a skit. Well, you know how it is. I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in. And then I was like, no, I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to wait a little bit. And then at the end, the Godwins end up holding me, and they slobbed me with the bucket of slob. And before anybody asked, the bucket of slob was, we went to where the catering was, where the food was, and it was cool because Larry and I think it was Phineas, they had a bucket and they threw lettuce, tomatoes, milk. Oh, here's a little coleslaw. So it was everything that we could grab from the table. So that's what was used as a slop prop. Now, after they slop me, I got to run around like I'm all upset. The headbangers are like, "Get to the back." So I go take a shower. I'm in the back taking a quick shower. I come out, and Goldust is right there changing up. I guess he took a shower in another one of the shower stalls. So I was like starstruck. And back then, of course, we didn't have phones. So I had a little pocket camera. So we got a picture together. And then I said, "Hey, I don't want to be rude, but you think I could get a picture with you and your wife?" And he's like, "You know what? I would have loved that, but she's on her way back to Texas on a plane. One of our daughters was sick, and she had to catch the next plane." So he did say, "Write down your name and address. I'll make sure we send you something." Joe, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a vanilla envelope, and it's a beautiful picture to Danger Boy or to Alfredo. They both signed it. It's an awesome picture. And speaking of pictures, I am probably the mock of wrestling, and I'll make you laugh. This is one binder. I don't know if you could see it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a 3-inch binder. I got 3 of them. And oh yeah, that's the Hulk picture that we all got. Here's one of my favorite. You can't make this up. They're the boys, Marsh and Thrasher.
Very
And
nice.
here's another one. And they're all 3-inch binders. This is Teddy Goods, who I love very much. He has us on his show sometimes. Teddy's been a good friend of mine and a big supporter. He has a beautiful toy store when it comes to wrestling memorabilia in New Bedford, Kojo's Toy World. Check it out. Anything that has to do with wrestling, figures, cards, signatures, he's got it all.
Yeah.
But I got so much wrestling related stuff. And you know what? I love every bit of it. It is what it is. When you're a fan, you appreciate what you got.
Tell us about the jacket. That's the famous
Oh,
jacket
the
that you're
famous
wearing.
This is the famous AKA varsity. Oh, there's my rankings. You got to keep the rankings in there for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Believe it or not, at was I want to say I was at Pro FM. It was Pro FM or B101. Lou Gianfrancesco. I always have a hard time with his last name. Lou Gianfrancesco used to do the jackets from Elmwood Sporting Goods for, I think it was Pro FM. He used to do the stitching. So believe it or not, he's another one that used to flip through the channel and see us wrestling. So he called the station one day and he said, hey, tell Alfredo to give me a call when he gets off the air. And I did. And he's like, hey, when you're done, he used to work out of his house. So Elmwood Sports would drop off stuff at his house. And then when it was done, they come pick it up. Come by my house. It was near Providence College. So I went and he's like, I got to make you guys look good. So he had us look through all his extra jackets that he has. And he had a few of these blue varsity jackets. And he goes, I'm going to make you guys look good. So I said, Lou, do whatever you got to do. Make it work. So then he came out with the Danger Boy Alfredo Cuban Missile, the NEWA, the RIWA. When we were on Raw, this was actually a patch that we picked up at one of the shows, the rankings. And then he did the ever popular back. And he made two of them, one for me and one for Chris. And everywhere we go, it's the jackets. We just did a run-in for Teddy Goods about 2 weeks ago, at the Proclamation Ale, Proc Mania 7. And I remember Teddy was like, you got the jackets, right? You got to wear the jackets because that's what I grew up watching, the jackets. And what's really cool is when you hear this, Teddy Goods, Big Trouble, Ben Bishop, Rich Palladino, whenever he announces us at one of the shows just this past weekend, it's always New England Legend Hall of Famers. And I take that to heart. But a lot of these guys all said, and you could ask anybody, the reason they got involved in independent wrestling in New England was they used to watch us on TV. So you could take that to whatever you want to take it, but I take it as a compliment.
Awesome. That is awesome. Now, when it comes to working for all these different promotions, was there a favorite promotion that you worked for? No.
I mean, I don't want to put anybody down because that's not me. Every promotion, like you know, is different. You got your bigger promotions and you got your smaller promotions. Everybody that I have worked for has trusted me to come do a show for them, whether it's the biggest one or the little one. I come in and we do what we got to do. You know, Heartthrob, Danny Kama, Thrash, Chris, Dante, Ken, your Canadian hero, Sonny D, anywhere that calls us to do shows, and they call them the Legends matches because they have us either together or going against each other. But I mean, I've done shows for you. And I actually made a list, NEWA. And back in the day, it was NEWA, and it was, I want to say Power League Wrestling, but I might be wrong. And then
PLW.
Tony Rumble out of Boston. We did stuff with him. And then Heat Wave Wrestling. And then you got Renegade Wrestling Alliance. Again, I've been with them now for a while. I'm the commissioner. Then you have Teddy Goods, Live Pro Wrestling. You got Fight Life with Frankie. You got Never Quit Wrestling, New England Ring Gladiators, Beyond Wrestling, American Wrestling League, New World Wrestling Extreme with Jimmy. That used to be the Mountie. No, the Trooper. And anybody that calls us to do a show, if we're open or if I'm not DJing or doing baseball or basketball, if you need us, hey, we're there. You need me to do a DJ gig for me? Hey, I'm on Facebook under Soundforce Unlimited. I'm on Facebook under my name, Alfred Travieso. Just message me, let me know. And if you need me and I'm available, I'm there for you.
And almost 26 years ago, next year, I interviewed you backstage. You were a special guest referee. It was for
Revere, right? Was it Revere?
Yeah.
At Wonderland.
Yeah.
Joe,
yeah.
Was it King Kong Bundy?
He was there, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I gave Rock Joseph gave him a ride to the airport right there in Boston, and Rock said, "Would you go with Rock Jr.?" We went, so it was kind of cool dropping him off at the airport. But yes, I was the I don't know, the extreme referee. Make sure nothing gets out of hand, which I've done a lot of referee spots like that locally lately, which is kind of cool. But I remember you were there, and dude, you were like a little kid, and I was fit back then, and I think I even had a little bit of hair back then. But we were young
Yeah. Oh yeah. It
and
was a long
having
time.
fun. No
Right.
problems in the world. We had no worries in the world. We go to these shows and we had fun.
Yeah.
That's what we
Absolutely.
did.
Good memories for sure. And in closing, your legacy. How do you want to be remembered?
I think we just talked about that. I want to be remembered as somebody that took an opportunity, jumped on it, and then let one door open the door to another. Keep going. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something, because think of me, and then you'll say to yourself, hey, that New York City guy, I actually became a name in Rhode Island, because everywhere I used to go, people used to say, hey, wait a minute, I know you. And I'm like, okay, you pick. Did I arrest you? Did I do a wrestling show for you? Did I DJ a party for you? Did I referee your basketball game, or did I umpire your baseball game? Don't let anybody tell you you can't do nothing, because at the end, it doesn't get any better than this. Believe the hype, believe in me, believe in you, believe in Joe, and just live life to the fullest, because you're here one day and the next day, you're not. Hey, one thing that I always say is you're born alone, and then when you pass away, you die alone. Make the best out of everything.
Yeah. Well, Fredo, thank you so much for coming on the All Access podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you here this week.
Joe, thank you for having me, my friend. Many years of friendship here, and don't forget, it doesn't get any better than this.
Absolutely. Woo! So for our Danger Boy Alfredo, I'm Joseph Bruen, and this has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you all next time.